Good afternoon, Chip.
Good afternoon, my friend. Thanks for being patient with me.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for your time and for doing this. I know you are doing the press dance and doing a lot of interviews for this, so I'm glad you could fit me in.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
And
you doing good?
I'm doing great, man. Doing fantastic, and so are you, apparently. You've already been on the show before, so you know the dance. We've already got great liners from you, so let's go ahead and kick into this thing, man.
Okay, let's do it.
Brand new Enuff's Enough from their Hard Rock Night album, a heavy-duty tribute to the Beatles back in the USSR and back on the streets of rock and roll. My good friend Chip from Enuff's Enough. Greetings, brother. Welcome back.
Thank you, my friend. I'm holding my knees. I'm living in cyberspace on my microphone mobile, on my English reel-to-reel.
Awesome, man. Congratulations on this cool new release. Available December 10th on CD, digital, streaming, and limited edition white vinyl. Enough's Hard Rock Night, a tribute to the Beatles. Not just Beatles songs, but classics from the solo careers of Lennon and McCartney. Wings. Way to go, Chip. You are releasing your very own white album, dude.
That's unbelievable, isn't it, this day and age? Who would have thought that any band would go out and do a tribute record? Actually, this is more like an album that is paying respect to our forebears more than anything. It's a reinterpretation of Beatles songs. But I believe that, without bragging or sounding unmodest, we may be the first band to ever release the whole Beatle record in its entirety.
I think you might be right, man, and I'm really enjoying it. The Beatles were, and still are, such an iconic influence on our generation. I love telling my childhood Beatles stories in interviews, and I want to hear yours. How did your love affair with the Fab Four start out in the first place?
Ed Sullivan, the old TV show. Beatles were on there. My family was nice enough to turn me on to them years later, because obviously I was a little kid then, and I just started listening to Beatles at my mom and dad's house. They had all the records.
I was going to mention that because I saw that on the Ed Sullivan Show. I believe it was February of 1964, but I thought you were much younger than I am.
Perhaps I am. No, I listened to all that old Beatles stuff in the early days because it was a template to my childhood, actually. And I always loved everything about the Beatles, all the way down from Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's and Rubber Soul, and of course the White Album, one of my favorite records. But I like the early stuff of the solo stuff of Lennon and McCartney. I love the Shea Fish record by Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band, and I love all the Paul McCartney Wings stuff too. So it was a potpourri of music all the way through, and all those songs are so timeless that what a challenge to be able to take something like this and bring it to fruition.
Well, it does live up to the title, man. Hard Rock Night. I was surprised, frankly, how powerful the album sounds. And it's not just as simple as cranking up the overdrive on the guitars or hitting the drums harder. There's more to it than that. Why do you think Beatles songs lend themselves so well to a heavier, more hard rock treatment like this?
Well, those guys were writing songs, Paul and of course John, along with George and Ringo. They were writing about all the surroundings that were happening in their lives. They're writing about their early childhoods, growing up around Grandma and Grandpa. There's little things that happened as they were kids, things they experienced, and it was autobiography. It was autobiography basically for all those cats, and then putting pen to paper and then going and singing to tape. And in those early days, I was hanging out with Mick Jones from Foreigner one day. We did a show with Foreigner in Florida and Alice Cooper, and at the end of the gig, I invited Mick to my hotel to hang out, and there was a ton of beautiful talent that was hanging out with us as well. So we were definitely preoccupied because we both love Trim. And he said to me, he goes, "You know how I learned how to write songs, Chip? I was hanging out with the Beatles. I got a chance to be in the studio with them for about 6 months while they were recording songs." And I said, "That's incredible." I go, "What'd you do?" He goes, "I sat there and watched and learned." And I thought, well, it's just fascinating to be in the studio with George Martin and all the guys from the Beatles recording a record. I go, "Were they partying or anything?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "There wasn't big drinking or anything like that." He goes, "But we'd sneak in the closet and we'd smoke some pot together. We'd hide from George. We didn't want to upset him." But the way they went into the studio and bashed those songs out unabashedly was absolutely incredible. Great engineering, too. Jeff Emmerich was fantastic. And what they did in those early days was they were writing songs about their everyday experiences and stuff that they went through. And they just were able to do that in a quick amount of time. There wasn't huge, big budgets, but it was enough for them to navigate those waters. And at the end of the days, they would finish those records and they'd go, and instead of touring, they'd go back in the studio and start making another record.
Well, I think you might have oversimplified it, man. They are songs about real life and growing up and going through all those changes, but I'm not sure the casual listener or fan realizes how musically challenging these songs are. I think the Beatles probably used every chord in the songbook and even invented a few of their own. Time and tempo changes, instrumentation, complex harmony structures. You had to put a lot of thought into it when you headed into the studio to record this new Beatles tribute album.
Well, when Znuff went in the studio to start recording this new record, the first thing we said was, let's not overthink this. Let's just go in the studio and bash these songs out and try to pay respect to our forebears and not do anything that would be considered abusing the privilege, because anybody who gets a chance to record Beatles songs, it's pretty special right there. I think I'm running out of juice on my phone right now, unfortunately. I don't know what happened. I'm looking at my phone, and it's conking out right now. If I lose you, I'll get right back to you, I promise you.
Okay.
But I don't know if you're still with me, but
I am.
Those Beatles songs, yeah, you can't say anything bad about what the Beatles have done those early days. And what we did was we just went in the studio and we play as a band, all four of us together at once.
Do you want to take a break, plug in the charger, and call me back? Chip? I think he does want to plug in the charger and call me back. This is Life in Radio, and we'll wait for Chip to call back and continue picking up where we left off. I'm sure he'll do the right thing. He's a very responsible professional, and I know he's been on the phone all day long conducting these interviews. So we'll just wait for him to call back and hope for the best. Hello, Chip.
Sorry about that. I was having problems with my phone, and I heard a knock at the door. I couldn't answer the door, and the cops are here. And they said, what are these amplifiers doing? I had a couple of Mesa Boogie amps delivered to my house. They were sitting out in front. I was like, oh, that's nice and a beautiful little gift here.
Wow.
So as we get back, yeah, I like that. Some nice old boogie cabinets that I just purchased, which is terrific because I love those 412 sounds. That's what I used on the Beatle record, as a matter of fact, too. That's why I wanted to order a couple more. But to get back to what you're saying...
Well, yeah, it's nice that the cops showed up. It's nice that they're keeping an eye on you and that they showed up at the right time to make sure those amps were well protected sitting out in front of your house.
Yeah, not to sound unmodest, but the cops said, hey, we're just making sure you're okay. You're rock royalty. I thought... That's pretty nice to say. Nice. I got to be honest with you. Usually it'd be in the old days, it'd be a warrant for somebody's arrest, and they would take me away in handcuffs, which is quite a nice accessory.
Exactly. Well, we had a good point to edit right there, so I'll just pick it back up where we left off. Speaking with my good friend Chip from Enuff's Enough, promoting their new release, Hard Rock Night, which is a fantastic Beatles covers album. Chip, let's talk about the song choices. Some of these tunes have been begging for a hard rock treatment for decades. Others have received that treatment already, like Motley Crue's take on Helter Skelter, Guns N' Roses' Live and Let Die. You chipped those up on this new release. Tell me why those tracks made the cut.
I wanted to pick records and songs from the Beatles from 1967 and above. I didn't want to go back in the early part of the catalog because I thought I knew those songs very well. They were easy to navigate. You know, stuff like Cold Turkey, which, by the way, was produced by John and Yoko, that showed a blues element. And I'm from Chicago. I grew up listening to Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy and Paul Butterfield. Those are the kind of artists that I've always loved beyond belief. And I wanted to show that side of the band. But other tracks like Magical Mystery Tour, you can't go wrong. That was 67 for those guys, by the way. And they were really experiment with a lot of stuff. And musically, I thought we could take those songs and just simplify them a little bit, not mix with the potpourri of what the band carried back then, but go in there with simple guitars and singing and big drums. We definitely can navigate those waters. That's not the first time that song has been recorded. I'm sure there's other artists that have done it, but no one's done a whole Beatle record, which I mentioned earlier to you.
There's a big, heavy version of Magical Mystery Tour that kicks off this album, really gets your attention and hooks you in and makes you want to hear the whole thing top to bottom. So a great choice and really well done and played hard and heavy with conviction and all those elements that I'm sure that it's just a really great version of that song to open up the album. Your band, Enuff's Enough, sounds great on these recordings. The players did an excellent job. Hope that you paid them well for these sessions, Chip.
Well, I'm on Frontiers Records, and we know that Sarfino has a Brinks truck full of money. Rumor has it he fell off his wall, he'd break his neck 10 times. But the label Frontiers has been very good to us, and they pretty much let us go. They wanted an Enuff Snuff album, and we said, well, we got a Beatles record that we're doing right now. Navigating these songs is quite a challenge. You want to hear them? And I sent them out just a couple of songs. I went to the White Album first. I sent them out a demo of Dear Prudence, and they were blown away by it. They said, okay, send us the rest of the record. And then we started just putting it all together, all the pieces of the puzzle. Which didn't take as much time as you think, because a lot of these songs were recorded basically 1-2 takes, live performances. I wasn't punching in notes when I was singing these songs. I was just singing them all the way through, just like I would sing them live. And if I could do that, then I knew we had a good record. And boy, it certainly was a challenge in the studio laying those tunes down. But at the end of the day, when we finished it all up, we all said, man, this is a potpourri of some great material that is timeless. And our only hope is that maybe Paul and Ringo will give us permission to put these songs out there, and they certainly did. We got the stamp of approval from the Kings.
That's fantastic.
Now it's a matter of just putting the record out there and moving forward. I finished this record, by the way, in March of this year, and we sent it all completely finished, all mixed up. I went to Stonecutter Studio downtown Chicago, a guy named Chris Steinmetz, who was responsible for some great records. He did Kiss Me Then, worked with Alice Cooper, Styx, a fabulous producer and engineer mixer, and I had him just listen to the record for a couple of weeks and then mix all the songs. And he was pulling out Leslie's out of the studio, and we were running stuff into different rooms, using different kind of microphones, U87s and all kinds of ribbon mics. And we took the guitars and we multed a few of the guitars, and we pan them left and right, so there was a lot of room in the middle for vocals. And we used a little bit of effects on it, as you can hear on the record. But for the most part, it's just a band bashing it out live, and that's the special thing about this album. We didn't overproduce it and do anything that would be disrespectful to the Beatles' legacy.
And some great musicianship on this album. You, of course, doing a lot of the heavy lifting as usual, lead vocals and bass guitar. But let's mention the guys. You definitely get by with a little help from your friends, Chip. Tony Fennell on guitar, Tori Stoffridgen, hope I'm saying that properly, on guitar, and Daniel Benjamin Hill on drums. As a bassist, Chip, how do you approach adapting those classic McCartney bass lines to these new hard rock arrangements?
Well, Paul McCartney has been in my job, so I always give a shout-out to him for that, that's for sure. But basically, I just bashed out the songs. I listened to them. I've always taken an English approach to my bass playing on all my records, and the Beatle one's no different. As far as Tori Stoffridgen goes, he's a big George Harrison fan. You hear those slide guitars, and that cat just nails it in one take. He's just a wonderful player. Always paid respect to the Beatles. Tony Fennell, who's my guitar player, and also he sings in the band as well. He came from a band called Ultravox back in the old days, and he's a real veteran. And he had a wonderful approach to the guitars. He says, I'm just going to bash him out with my old Les Paul, plug him into a Mesa Boogie, and take it from there. And that's basically what he did there. And Daniel Benjamin Hill, I can't say enough about him on drums. Guys does movie soundtracks, TV shows, commercials. Doesn't just play drums. He plays all the string arrangements. The guy's he was super smart as a tack, and he's got a great sense of balance on the drums as well. So I've got a great team that's following me. We work together, and there's no I in team. So we go in there and we make these records, and we believe in the legacy of not only Enuff Znuff, but the Beatles as well. And this is a nice start for us to put this record out there where maybe we can take the show on the road and do all Beatles songs, and we'll call it the Beatles Rock Show.
That would be fantastic. I was about to ask how much Beatles music finds its way into your set list on any given night.
Well, we just got off a tour with Faster Pussycat. It was called the Straight Outta Quarantine Tour, and nobody was touring in June of this year. We went out there and embarked on a 2-month tour, playing 500 to 1,000-seat venues. They were all jammed. I'm not bragging. They were packed, sold out. Tammy and his gang came in there. They did a wonderful job navigating their whole catalog of material, and they got quite a few records as well. And every night, my agency, Artists Worldwide, they said, why don't you throw a couple of Beatles songs in this set? Because not only will it help people know that you got a record coming out of all Beatles songs in a couple of months, but you'll also be able to let the promoters know that, hey, if you like these songs, there's a lot more to follow. So we threw in, we opened the set every single night with Magical Mystery Tour, which very challenging, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
As a support band, no sound check or anything. I think we got a line check, and that was it. And then we threw in Jet in the set as well, because that's going to be the first single on the record. And I thought it was really well received by the fans. People were hailing it beyond belief. And then after that tour, we went out and did a few shows, and we call it the Beatles Rock Show. We did Denver, Colorado, and Massachusetts. And people were crying out in the crowd, just remembering these songs, how it changed their life the first time they fell in love, the first time they got high, the first time they heard the Beatles songs. And it really left an indelible mark and an impression with the fans out there. And I think if we go out on tour and play this record in its entirety, people will be blown away.
I agree, man. I think you should do that, and I applaud your efforts and the efforts of everybody involved, the band, the production staff, for giving us a great new Beatles covers tribute album, Hard Rock Night from Enuff Znuff, a 10-song collection. Find them online at enuffznuff.com. You should know how to spell that by now. Chip, real quick, before we go, plug your radio show and whatever else you want to talk about.
I'm on the Monsters of Rock every single day, 6 days a week, on the Dash Radio Network. It's really easy to find. Dash Radio Network, all you got to do is type in dashradio.com, download the app. It's free. Go to Monsters of Rock, channel 502. It's 24/7, 365 days of the year of nothing but hard rock and heavy metal. And it's A through Z, the whole alphabet of what we listened to all through the years. Yeah, I might be playing Queen and Guns N' Roses and Metallica and Iron Maiden, and I'll mix it in with Ron Keel, along with Dirty Honey, Rival Sons, Vintage Trouble, Greta Van Fleet. It's everything, the whole alphabet of all the bands out there. And today, it's a real celebration of life, bro. Great radio station. Rudy Sarzo's got his own show on there. Sammy Hager's got a show on there as well. Snoop Dogg, Be Real from Cypress Hill, Kylie Jenner. They're all on the network. It's fantastic, bro. I could have went over to Sirius XM. If Howard would have had his own network, I might have done that. But, boy, am I glad I made the decision to go with Dash, because these guys have about 900,000 people a day listening to us. There's 30 million subscribers here, and it's the radio of the future, my friend. It's not your terrestrial radio. It's the elephant in the room, and we don't stop playing great songs all day and all night, every single day.
That's fantastic. Chip from Enuff Znuff on dashradio.com and on the great new Enuff Znuff Hard Rock Night album. The one and only Chip, thank you so much for the call, man. I always enjoy catching up with you, and I really appreciate the new music, and best of luck in life and everything you do, my friend.
Ron, last time I seen you, we were both in Australia together. You were my engineer for all the Monster Rock shows. My program director loves you beyond belief. We throw you in the set all the time. You're played next to Queen and Cheap Trick and all the great bands that are out there right now. Can't thank you enough for everything you do for me. Let's go to Australia again, bro, when everything opens up, and go celebrate some rock and roll, heavy metal, and some beautiful trim. Because Australia, I love their wine, I love their women, I love all the action in that beautiful country, and boy, they love rock and roll and heavy metal just like we do here in the States.
That was a great time touring with you last year in Australia. I'll go anywhere with you, Chip. We always have a good time, and we always entertain our people, man. Great job, and I appreciate your time again. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you again soon.
God bless you and your listeners, my friend.
Get keeled. a brand new 5-track EP from the Ron Keel Band, featuring our new versions of the Keel classics, The Right to Rock, Tears of Fire, Because the Night and Somebody's Waiting, and the new single, Here Today, Gone Tomorrow. I'm giving away a free signed CD copy of Keeled to every All Access member at patreon.com/Ron Keel. If you're a member in December, I'll give you this special gift so you'll remember you're my people and I'm your fearless frontman. Get Keeled by signing up for All Access now at patreon.com/Ron Keel. Hello, Phil?
Yep, speaking.
Man, that sounds a lot better this time.
Good. I'm glad we can finally get it together.
Me too. Thanks so much for rescheduling. It was a great discussion, just the audio was terrible. I thought I could maybe EQ it out or get rid of the hum or the buzz, but I did not have any luck with that. So let's pretend like we haven't spoken to each other in a year.
Oh, okay. Oh, Ron, it's you. Hold on a second. As I was just ranting a second ago, I did get your email, but it stated it was a 2 o'clock interview.
2 o'clock my time.
Did I? Oh, all right. So you're on cowboy time.
That's
okay,
exactly.
So this is great. Oh, okay, brother. So you can hear me loud and clear, and we can do this?
Yes, the signal sounds great. Audio quality is fantastic. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Let's roll.
Is there any way you can come up a little bit in the mix or get closer to the mic or whatever? Is there a little...
I am eating the microphone, and my broadcast quality is fantastic here on the radio broadcast mic. So
all right.
Is that any better?
Yeah, okay, no, no, I've got my phone up max now. I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome,
all right,
dude.
Ron, okay, let's do it.
Thank you. It'll take about 15 minutes. Keep in mind that I edit this down for radio, so we can keep it short and just plug the record and do what we do, brother. Here we go.
Here we go, Ron.
Cannonball, the heavy-duty lead track from Checkered Past, the new release by L.A. Guns, and the man behind that voice hits the streets of rock and roll again right here and now. Welcome back to the program, my buddy Phil Lewis. Hello, Phil. How are you?
I'm all right, Ron. It's good talking to you. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to talk to you as well. Another album, another interview on the streets of rock and roll, and I appreciate your time. Before we get too deep into it, I want to recommend everyone view that music video for that track, Cannonball, on YouTube and the official website, lagunsmusic.com. Phil, looks like you guys had a blast filming that clip, man.
Well, yeah, I did have a blast. You know, it was, once again, it was like the whole album was recorded remotely. So we're all doing our own thing individually and leaving it to people that know what they're doing to compile it. As we did with the album, we did it sonically with the audio. And now we did it with the video. And I wasn't in the room with any of the guys. I was doing it by myself. And probably for the best, because they probably would have laughed so hard at what the caper that I was getting up to, because as usual, I don't tell anybody. I just had this idea in my head, and I want to dress up like a pirate. I've got this fantastic mustache that looks like something from the American Civil War. It's like, yeah, I've been locked up for almost 2 years. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to play dress up. And I did, and I persuaded the record company. They weren't sure. They were like, what you're trying to do is going to cost a lot of money. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I've got it all figured out. And I could just give me 2 hours in the studio. And they did. They trusted me, and it turned out great.
It's
so
a
if you
great
haven't
clip.
seen it,
yeah, the transformation's incredible. The way you go through that transformation, and you can tell Serafino at Frontiers Records that the mustache, you grew that one for free.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was what I call the plate stash. And what I do generally is I stop shaving when I don't have a show. And I'll shave for the next gig. That's always kind of been a tradition for me. Well, I mean, weeks turned into months, turned into years, and the next thing I've got Stonewall Jackson on my face. And I've never expected that. I've never had anything like that kind of face hair before, but it worked perfectly for the video. And I shaved it right after, and I haven't done any gigs since. So it's sort of growing back, but it'll never have those kind of dimensions ever again.
Well,
but yeah,
I thought you might regrow it for Halloween.
Well, I mean, it's Movember, isn't it? So I've got a little bit going, but nothing like that. Nothing like it's Civil War.
Well, I've really enjoyed prepping for the interview and listening to Checkered Past over and over again. Probably my favorite all-time LA Guns album. Since you and Tracy reunited, you've released 3 new albums in 4 years. The Missing Piece, The Devil You Know, and now Checkered Past. Let's face it, a lot of fans are not always receptive to new songs. They just want us to play the hits from back in the day. Talk about your drive and Tracy's drive and that need to continue to create and release fresh new music.
Sure. Well, here's the way we see it. There's 2 LA Guns. There's Mark 1 and Mark 2. And the Mark 1 LA Guns is the hit factory. It was the Never Enough, Sex Action, Ballad of Jane, and songs that were absolutely crucial. We'd get strung up if we tried to do a show without playing those songs. And then there's Mark 2, which is this post reunion, and we're into our 6th year now. And just, Tracy and I didn't speak for a long time, for 15 years. So when we decided to get back together, we got to make up some time. And that's what we're doing. And he's got the ideas. He keeps sending me over these ideas, and they're inspiring to me, and it's fun. And it's, God, I'm so lucky. We are so lucky to have had this project to sink our teeth into and not get hung up with, being on lockdown and not playing and not making money and, stressful.
Yeah.
So it was good to have this album to really get stuck into, and it helped pass the time, that's for sure.
Well, I can sense the excitement in your voice now as we do this interview, and I certainly hear it and sense it on the new album. In this new song called Get Along, you sing, I know a little bit more today, I'm okay. And to me, I hope it's cool to say this, Phil, but this new collection of songs just sounds a little less sleazy than the previous work, for lack of a better term, man. It's just classier, more mature. I don't think that's a bad thing. We're all growing up a little more each day, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, no, you don't want to hear a guy in his 60s singing, I'm a sex gun lover in the heat of the night. Don't run for cover because I got you in my sight. That was great. That was great back then. It was fun. Those were fun times. They were sleazy times. But no, this is a different creature entirely. This is LA Guns 2.0. It's grown up, and we've still got a lot to give. But we don't want to sound silly and disposable like that early stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think it's great, and it's stood the test of time, and it's our legacy. But we got new stuff, and that's the problem. Having these great old songs, and then of course we want to play new stuff. So it's a tricky balance, trying to figure out which ones we're going to put in. But we are definitely putting Cannonball and Get Along. Those 2 songs that you mentioned will be live in the set. After that, I don't know, because, we don't have a lot of time. But, it's, you can't I try not to think about it when I'm recording and just so immersed in these songs that the sad fact is that 70% of it will never get played live. But those are the breaks, I'm afraid.
That's right. And you mentioned recording this one remotely, as we're all doing these days, especially since the pandemic, especially vocalists recording at home. Was that your first time doing that, or did you take that same approach on the previous 2 reunion albums as well?
Oh, it couldn't have been further from the usual way of doing things. And for the first 2, for The Missing Piece and Devil You Know, I flew out to New York. And it's a 3-day intense vocal session with Mitch Davis, who he's kind of our secret member.
Oh,
he's
right.
he's been around since the beginning of the reunion, and he's a brilliant lyricist, and there's nothing he doesn't know about vocals. So I recorded them here remotely, but alone. And I've got to say, nothing fancy. I'm not using any fancy equipment. It's a Dell computer, like an 8-year-old Dell, just a Focusrite interface, entry level, and a sort of mid-level, like Chinese knockoff microphone. And nothing fancy at all. No expensive compressors or 1950s tube amps or anything like that. Just anyone could do it. And I'd record the vocals dry, and then I'd send them over to Mitch, and he would like edit and make changes and add the effects later. And so, keeping it simple like that worked really well. And of course, it's great hearing it back, too. I'm sending in these dry files. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then he plays me something back that he's compiled, picked out the best bits, and put all the sparkle and fairy dust on it. And it's mind blowing. It's just great. So no, I've never done that before, and I'm wondering, if I'll ever go back in the studio again, because I like that. Because as I said, those 3 intense days in New York, that's a lot of pressure, Ron. I've got to do like 3 songs, 4 songs a day. And that means, it's not just singing that song once. You've got to sing that song like half a dozen times, maybe 10 times. That's 60 songs you got to sing in a day. And that's excruciating, and it's a lot of pressure, and I don't miss that at all. I mean, it's great when it's done and you listen back and go, yeah, I did it. But yeah, given the choice, I'd much rather do it at home in my leisure, exactly when I feel like doing it, and under no pressure at all. Highly recommend it.
It sounds like you're strong, confident, and very comfortable on these vocal tracks, really selling the songs. And like I said, I enjoyed listening to it multiple times, prepping for the interview, and I'm a bigger fan now than I was before. You've got some big shows just around the bend.
You're a friend. You're more of a friend than a fan, but I appreciate that, Ron. That's fantastic. And high praise indeed coming from you, because your body of work speaks for itself. And I'm really honored and delighted that you feel this way.
Yeah, highly recommended.
It's great.
I highly recommend this album. Whether you've never been an LA Guns fan or not, you will be after this one. And those 2 videos we mentioned, Cannonball and Get Along, both getting a lot of traction on YouTube. You've got some big shows around the bend, starting in Southern California, a couple of nights at Vamped in Vegas, New Year's Eve at the Whiskey, the Monsters of Rock cruise next year. Looks like 2022 is shaping up to be a great year for you guys.
Oh, that's right. And also in the pipeline, in the works, is a nationwide Tom Kiefer, LA Guns, Faster Pussycat tour that's being put together right now, which would be absolutely fantastic. Just a great way for us to pick it up where we left off. And we haven't done any shows in like 2 years. You did a live stream, but that doesn't count. So yeah, really excited. The album drops next week, and as you said, we've got like a gaggle of local shows in and around the LA area. So it's a very exciting time, and it's great to come out with something new. And we're firing on all cylinders. We've got this. Yeah, and of course, we want to be as responsible as we can regarding transmission of anything awful. So there's no meet and greets, there's no hugs, it's great to see you and everything, but we're gonna be a little bit distant. We're gonna be a little Celine Dion-ish, if you will. But that's not our choice. That's just out of safety, because if one of us gets it, it's all over. The tours, the few shows that we've got lined up, it's immediately over, and we don't want that. And the last thing we want is somebody getting sick on our watch. So we're being really responsible about that, and we hope that people that come and see us will respect that and be as equally as responsible as we are.
That's fantastic. And what great news about that package with Tom Kiefer, LA Guns, and Faster Pussycat. That's a great triple bill, man.
It is a great bill, and real good friends of ours, and I'm sure if we can get you on for a few dates, Ron.
I'm there. I would love the opportunity to just to hang with you, see you, and hopefully do some shows together at some point.
Yeah, you'll be most welcome as always. Yeah, so it's great. It's great talking to you, and I appreciate the support and the very kind words. And yeah, we'll be up there soon on this Keith run. And come on out, get up and jam with us.
I will, absolutely. Order the new LA Guns album, Checkered Past. View the new music videos for Cannonball and Get Along. Social media links, lots more, just one click away at lagunsmusic.com. Phil Lewis, my special guest on the Streets of Rock and Roll this week. Thanks so much, man. Great talking to you, as always. I appreciate it. Best of luck in life.